In 2009, Blake Griffin was the number one pick in the NBA draft. And now, over the last few days, Woj announced that six-time All-Star forward Blake Griffin and the Detroit Pistons have agreed that he will be out of the lineup until the franchise and his representatives work through a resolution on his playing future, says the Pistons general manager Troy Weaver. So, what that really means is Woj is saying that the Pistons are trying to get rid of Blake Griffin, either by trade or buyout. So this video is, where did it all go wrong for Blake Griffin? We can talk about the rise of Blake Griffin, and then where he is now, the fall of Blake Griffin. It's sad to see a former All-Star level player fall so far, but we gotta discuss it in this video. So we gotta start the start here, and that's his college career. And Blake in college, in his freshman year at Oklahoma, he averaged 14.7 points and 9 rebounds. Now he suffered from a sprained MCL, then a couple of months later he injured his right knee, which led to him having surgery on his right knee. So Blake, this is even in college, you can see the injuries starting to happen to him. And it's unfortunate, some players are just injury prone. But he had a good first season in college, and then he stayed for his sophomore season, where he averaged 22.7 points per game, and 14.4 rebounds, and 2.3 assists per game. And after that, Blake Griffin decided to declare himself for the NBA draft, and that's where he got drafted number one by the LA Clippers. The Clippers were poor back then, obviously that's how they got the pick. Hadn't made the playoffs since 2006, and Blake Griffin was meant to be, the new face of the franchise. Now during Blake Griffin's rookie season, it all started at the Summer League, of course. He got Summer League MVP. I know things looking bright, but then the last game of the Clippers preseason, before the 2009-10 season, Blake, he suffered a kneecap injury, which kept him out for a few weeks, but the Clippers found out that it wasn't healing properly, and he had to get surgery on it, and it found out he had to get surgery on a broken kneecap. So Blake Griffin, he missed the whole 2009-10 season with that kneecap injury. And as we can see already, a team here, the knees, he's got bad knees. We can see from the start here. So he missed his full rookie season. Then going into the 10-11 season, as he still qualifies for a rookie, and he got Rookie of the Year this season. And when he finally made his debut in the 2010-11 season, he got 20 points and 14 rebounds in his debut versus the Portland Trail Blazers. And in that same January, he scored 47 points, setting a franchise record for the most points scored by a rookie. So 47 points in one of his first few games in the NBA, never mind back. So he showed his potential from the start. And then he made the 2011 All-Star team, and he got 2011 Rookie of the Year, as I said. So he made the All-Star team in his first season in the NBA. He was injured for his first year, but his first season playing, he made the All-Star team, which is unbelievable. And that season he averaged 22.5 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 3.8 assists per game. So Blake Griffin already showing his promise at this stage. He's only 21 years old, and he's got the world at his feet really. So during the 2011-12 season, Blake was voted an All-Star starter. So his second full season playing in the NBA, and he's already a starter in the All-Star team. And the NBA lockout shortened, the 2011-12 season, as we all know, but Blake still averaged another double-double. And Blake, he got the Clippers to the playoffs for the first time since 2006, that season, where they lost in the first round versus the San Antonio Spurs. So he's showing signs of improvement at this stage as well, getting the Clippers into the playoffs. Blake was named in the All-NBA second team that season. So his first two seasons playing basketball with the Clippers have been a big success, improving year on year. And that's where we go into 2012-13 season. Now, before 2012-13 season, Blake Griffin, he signed a 5-year, $95 million contract extension with the Clippers, which kept him there till the 2017-18 season. And during the summer of 2012, he was selected for the USA team, but he suffered another knee injury, which kept him out of that. He missed the London Olympics that season, that summer. He was voted as an All-Star starter for the second year in a row in 2013, and he got the Clippers to the first seed with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan as a big three almost, if you like. But they lost in the first round again. Now the Clippers, they brought in Doc Rivers and JJ Redick the next season, but that Lob City era, the Clippers, they had a very, very good team, but they just couldn't get over the hump, as we'll find out. And there's always a reason for that. Injuries played a part at the wrong time. Either Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, one of them would get injured at the wrong time. But anyway, going into the 2013-14 season, the Clippers brought in Doc Rivers as head coach, and it was brought in JJ Redick. And that's where, it's the Lob City team. Blake, once again, was an All-Star starter, averaging 24 points per game, career high at that stage. and he made a playoff run to the Western Conference semi-finals where they lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, more signs of improvement. At least they got past the first round this season. Blake was averaging career highs. They got a good coach in Doc Rivers, an unbelievable sporting class. You got people like Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, JJ Redick. They had a team, to really challenge the West. Blake averaged 22 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, and 5.3 assists per game in the 14-15 season. And the Clippers won in the first round this season, in the playoffs, getting past the San Antonio Spurs in a Game 7. So, they're finally getting over the first round hump, you think, after this stage, but they lost to the Rockets in the Western Conference semi-finals, which I think, they should have, that season especially, they should have won. That Rockets team had James Harden and Dwight Howard, and James Harden clearly didn't want Dwight Howard in that team, and they weren't getting along. So I think, the Clippers will be disappointed that they did not get through that year. Then going into the 15-16 season, the injuries started to come for Blake. You can start seeing he's getting more and more injuries, become more and more injury prone. On December the 26th, he suffered a quad injury, and in January he suffered a hand injury. And he suffered that hand injury by trying to fight a member of the equipment staff, and he got suspended for the Clippers for a few weeks. He'd end up missing 45 games because of the quad injury and the hand injury, and he didn't play again till April. So December to April, that's a big spell missing. This guy, he's still very young at this stage, so you want him to play more games than that. And then he re-aggravated his quad in Game 4 of the playoffs, and where they lost in the first round again. So 15-16 was a step back, you could say, for Blake. The injuries are coming, didn't get far in the playoffs, not getting along with some members of the organisation. A step back for Blake. Then in the 16-17 season, he reached 9,000 points, 4,000 rebounds, and 1,500 assist club. Only Larry Bird had got those numbers quicker. In December, he was ruled out again due to a minor knee surgery. So once again, more knee injuries. And then in April, he reached the 10,000 points mark. Only the second player in franchise history to do so. So at that stage, he's like the main man for the Clippers. You could arguably say he's the best Clipper of all time at this stage. Only the second player to ever do that, gets 10,000 points and still so young. Plenty of potential there. And then only a few days later, though, he injured his big toe, which ruled him out of the 2017 playoffs. So, as I said, the real reason the Clippers didn't get to a Western Finals or even NBA Finals was one of Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan. One of them always got injured, when they needed the most in the playoffs. Then Chris Paul left before the 17-18 season. DeAndre Jordan wanted to go. So, people they're breaking up the team. Lob City was starting to break up. And even with all Blake Griffin's injuries, the Clippers, they convinced Blake to stay on and re-sign a 5-year, $173 million contract. Now Blake, he was listening to offers from other teams, and the Clippers convinced him to stay. They're saying that if he stays, they retire his jersey, he'll be Mr. Clipper, he'll be the main man of this team. So they kind of sold Blake Griffin a dream at this stage, saying that he'd be the greatest Clipper of all time. And then early in the season, he sprained his MCL. And then in the January of the 2017-18 season, so the January of 2018, Blake was traded to the Detroit Pistons, and he wasn't told about this. He found out when everyone else found out. They didn't keep him informed, and Blake didn't like that. He doesn't talk to Steve Ballmer, the Clippers owner, anymore. Didn't talk to Doc Rivers after that. Soured the relationship a lot because they convinced him to stay in LA when the team was breaking up, and then the Clippers, after all these injuries, they just said, we're going to dump his salary to Detroit. And then he became a Piston then. And he performed well for the rest of the season as a Piston before suffering from a bone bruise on his right ankle. So, more injuries. Then the 18-19 season, he was averaging a career high 24.5 points per game. So, this season, statistically, was one of his best seasons. As I said, he also got a career high 50 points in a game this season with the Pistons. He missed the first 2 playoff games against the Milwaukee Bucks that year, but then after they got eliminated, I think they got swept that year. After they got eliminated, Blake underwent left knee surgery, so more left knee problems. And then he ended up missing the first 10 games of the 19-20 season with the Pistons. He played 18 games then after that, but then a second surgery on his left knee ruled him out for the rest of the season. And that brings us to the current day, where the Pistons, they wanted to trade him if they didn't get anything for him. I don't think they will. Buy him out is probably the most likely option. And it's sad to see Blake, People say the downfall is is, getting traded to the Pistons. I don't know. We'll dig into that in a minute. This season, though, Blake Griffin, he's played 20 games. He's averaged 12.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 3.9 assists per game, shooting 36.5% from the field and 31.5% from 3. He's also been shooting 6.2 threes a game. So, he shoots a lot of threes. He's not very consistent at making the threes, to be honest. And, we need to talk about Blake Griffin now, the modern day Blake Griffin. And he's at the moment with the Pistons, before they told him to sit down, he looks sapped of all of his athleticism. He looks like a shell of his former self. We all know that Miami Heat commentator who just ripped into him. Now, I don't think he's as bad as he's shown with the Pistons. I do believe that he wants out of Detroit. He's never really wanted to be there. And he just, this year he's just given up and he just wants to get out of there. Now, currently the Pistons have an 8-19 record, one of the worst in the East, and only Timberwolves are worse than them. So the Pistons are trash this season. They won't be making the playoffs for sure. They brought in Jeremy Grant this off season, who's been one of the most improved players. So they already found a replacement for Blake Griffin. So that's why the Pistons are willing to let him go. And I think Blake Griffin, athleticism was a huge part of his game. You always saw Blake Griffin dunking, man. That was his biggest strength. Not shooting to his mid-ranges, not shooting threes. Duncan was Blake Griffin's main thing. That's why he's part of Lob City. But I don't think his athleticism has been fully sapped, but I think a lot of it's gone now, unfortunately for him. So he's going to have to either improve his 3-point shooting or, just get to the paint and lay it up. I don't know. That's what Blake Griffin has sorted out. But the question is, where to next for Blake Griffin? It's more than likely he's going to get bought out. If a team will trade for him, it'll probably be the OKC, because I can see the Pistons trading Blake Griffin and a future pick for the NBA draft. And the OKC, you know how they are. If they see a draft pick, they'll take it, So that's the only way I see Blake Griffin getting traded. It's more than likely he's going to get bought out by the Pistons, which is a lot of money. They need to decide on that. But he's probably going to get bought out. And there's been a few teams linked to him already. One team that's been linked to them is the Lakers. We all know that in the story I've just told you, Blake was Mr. Clipper, and now, he doesn't get along with him anymore. Now I'm a Lakers fan, and I think the Lakers got bigger problems than Blake Griffin. Yes, AD is now injured for 2 to 3 weeks, but by the time Blake Griffin gets bought out, you can't buy one out until the 25th of March, I think, or that's when the trade deadline ends. So Blake Griffin is not going to get bought out for another month at least. So, and by then AD will be back, so there's no point bringing in Blake Griffin then, I don't think. I think the Lakers, if they're going to bring in someone, they need a centre or a 3 wing player. Now, if they did get Blake Griffin, there's some pros and cons, of course. Look at Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's stock was at an all-time low the season before he came to the Lakers. Then the Lakers signed him up on a veteran minimums deal, and look how it turned out. Most Lakers fans would take him back right now. He was brilliant for us last year. So the same thing could happen for Blake Griffin. The Lakers could bring Blake in. Blake would have a very specific role, come off the bench and bring, some scoring, a bit of energy off the bench, and he might take that role perfectly. He might suit it like a glove, But one thing about Blake Griffin is he hasn't dunked since 2019, and if you know Blake Griffin not dunking isn't right. He's got to be dunking, and it's almost been 2 years since he's last dunked in the NBA. So he needs to get some of that athleticism back. He needs to show what he's got. But overall, as I said, I don't think Blake Griffin is as bad as most people think he is. He's not as washed as people think he is. He's definitely not the same player. He's definitely lost some of those hops, but I still think he has a little bit left in the tank to give, And I think the Lakers, Woj has actually said that the Lakers and Blake Griffin have mutual interest, so you never know with that deal. That would surprise me, but it could happen. I think the Miami Heat need a power forward. I could see him in the Heat, playing for the Heat, and the OKC as well, if they're going for a trade. But other than that, hopefully for Blake Griffin's sake, he goes to a contender. I want to see Blake Griffin contending for a championship. If that's at my Lakers, great, I wouldn't be against it. I'm just saying, I think we need a centre more than Blake Griffin, but I wouldn't be against, as I said. But guys, the question is, where do you guys think he's going to end up at? I still think he can be a starter in the team, if not a good bench option. I think he has more left in the tank than he showed in Detroit, as I've said, but I do think a lot of his athleticism is gone now, and he's got to work in his game. But I still think he's got another couple of years left in him. Blake Griffin, a 6-time All-Star, he's only going to be going 32 this year, so or 31 even. He's only 31, 32. He's had plenty of injuries, especially in that left knee, so we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully for Blake Griffin, he gets a team, hopefully a contender really. I want to see him up there challenging for a ring, I like to see him get a ring before he goes. But hopefully he gets a team, gets back to somewhere near his best, playing some good basketball, getting some good minutes into him, staying as injury free as he can, and yeah, hopefully he can get back to his best. Anyway guys, that's the video. Before we go, where do you think Blake Griffin will end up in? Do you think he's going to go to a contender or somewhere lower down the league? And yeah, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, plenty of NBA content coming out, and make sure to turn on notifications as well so you stay notified. And all I say guys, I'm out of here.